Wedding shower was cancelled. No one bothered to call me. Let me preface this by saying, my fiancé is a sweet man, but he's a man. We are getting married on the 26th of this month and I have essentially planned the whole wedding myself with very little input or effort on his part. His parents have been struggling financially for a couple years now ever since my mother-in-law lost her accounting job, and just kinda decided to retire early. Family be damned. She cleans houses on occasion, I think. Their financial problems were so great, that they decided to take out a payday loan in my fiancé's name. Him and Dad have the same name. Dad knew his social. Didn't bother to tell us that either. They did this despite having a couple rental properties they probably could have sold, and two older, more well-to-do children who probably would have lent them the $2,000. Dad pays the interest on it, and has maybe taken $500 off the principal in 2+ years. So our wedding has been delayed for 3 years after engagement because we had to save up money to pay for everything ourselves. My family has pitched in what they can, and my mother has helped me more than anyone. A couple months ago, my fiancé's aunt, mom's sister, tells me she'd like to host a shower. How nice. But then she proceeds to send me 4-page-long texts of shower planning talk while I'm at work. Several times, she asks for the addresses of all my friends and family. I explained that my mother just had hip surgery, and no one else could really drive the distance easily. Plus my aunt was hosting a shower for everyone back home. I really just wanted and expected this to be a family gathering for his side of the family. She wanted to formally mail invitations to everyone I know and I just didn't have the capacity or desire to do that. Maybe that is why it got cancelled? I don't know. Fast forward to yesterday, and fiancé casually texts me to say the shower, planned for this Sunday, was cancelled. I ask why, and he says his dad told him that my mother-in-law blew off the aunt, and now they're mad. No other explanation. I made him call his mother when he got home, and she said I don't remember what. Aunt said, it's really not a big deal. I mean, yeah, not to her, but it's kind of a big deal to us. Person shrugging. She then goes on to mention that Sunday is her birthday, and we should all get together. I yelled I'm busy. In the background, she helped pick that date specifically. I even suggested that we don't do it on her birthday. And here it is, the next day, and mother-in-law nor aunt have called me to talk about it. I'm so done, and will no longer join their family for holidays after this. Every year my mom plans in advance, and works around what his mom tells her they're doing. Then, like clockwork, the week of said holiday she will change it to a time that overlaps with my family plans. I feel paranoid to think that they do things like this to spite me, but I really don't see any other explanations. Banned stepmom and dad from wedding. This is about my stepmom I don't like, and never refer to her as my stepmom in real life though. I don't know her that well. Background, I've never been a fan of her because she has always talked bad about my mom. First time she met my brother she introduced herself as the woman who replaced my mom. When my grandparents were in poor health and dying my mom would go visit them because they were close, and my grandparents loved her like a daughter still, and my stepmom would flip out and tell her to leave, but I was still always nice to her just to keep peace. So my dear husband and I were getting married, and to be polite I asked my toxic dad to walk me down the aisle. I have a bad past history with him. He was very emotionally abusive. As the time gets closer, and people are starting to RSVP, I get my dad's RSVP, and it shows him, stepmom, and some woman's name I've never heard of. I texted him asking who this was, and he said it was stepmom's daughter. I told him he should have asked me before he invited her. We were trying to keep our wedding really small since we were paying for it all on our own. Next thing I know stepmom is calling me yelling asking if I have a problem and I said they should have asked. I've never met this person, and they don't get A+1. She then screams F you swine which I yelled back to her, and hung up. She then starts texting me saying that my wedding isn't worth going to anyways. I have happily been no contact with them both since. I was nervous they would show up to my wedding just to cause drama. Thankfully they didn't show. Also, I'll add that her daughter is a grown woman. She has children of her own. She isn't a little kid that needed to come with. Husband broke no contact with mother-in-law last night and I learned who I'm married to. TLDR my husband is a freaking prick, and 90% of what I've been dealing with is his fault. My husband broke no contact with mother-in-law last night. I don't know why. For the past month, she has been calling in upwards of 12 times a day. He responded to her text, and they got in a 3-hour fight over text. It was very enlightening and I finally learned a few reasons why my mother-in-law and her family are convinced that I am a raging piece of crap. 1. While I was pregnant, I started to feel like my husband wasn't mature enough to handle being a father and I was considering leaving him. I told him this, and that I didn't think I wanted to have a baby with him. The original outcome was that mother-in-law had somehow gotten in her head that I was having an abortion. The reason she thought this? My husband called her crying and literally told her that I was currently at the clinic getting an abortion. 2. The morning of my gender reveal ultrasound, I got up at 6 a.m. to go find out what I was having, and then I was heading to work. I had no cell phone because we were freaking broke and I worked 12-hour days. My husband didn't go with me because he didn't feel like getting up. He didn't have a job at the time. He just didn't feel like getting up, so he didn't get to find out what we were having. I wasn't able to call him because I didn't have a cell phone. So he called sister-in-law A, and told her I was keeping my daughter's gender from him. 3. After I had my daughter, I had horrible postpartum depression. He would call his mother, and sister-in-law A, and sister-in-law B, and tell them I wasn't taking care of the house, wasn't taking care of the baby. He refused to get up and change diapers. He didn't help clean or take care of anything. We got into a horrible fight because he wanted to go bowling and I was exhausted. He started screaming at me about how I'm lazy and I never want to do anything. And all I do is lay around this house, and he works all week, and he's tired of never doing anything, and I slapped him. Yes, I hit him. I don't feel good about it. There wasn't really anything I felt good about at the time. He called mother-in-law and told her that I beat him. I'm not justifying that I slapped my husband. But by this point, a lot had happened with mother-in-law. Calling her, and telling her this was throwing gas on the fire. She called CPS, she tried to have my daughter taken away. And she told everyone I was an unfit parent and I needed to have my daughter taken away. Meanwhile, I was completely alone, unemployed, with a premature newborn, and horrible postpartum depression. My husband, meanwhile, is acting completely innocent in all of this. Oh, I don't know why mother-in-law would be telling everyone these awful things. On a positive note, CPS actually got me some information for a low-cost therapist and I got on some meds, and the postpartum depression, and everything got better. 4. After daughter's first shots, which I took her to, I didn't immediately call him. Again, I had no cell phone. So he called sister-in-law A, and told her that, again, I was keeping information from him. He called her from our home phone while I was sleeping and I woke up because he started screaming at her, but again, no clue why these people think I'm a piece of crap. I am absolutely livid. For the past 5 years, we've been no contact. He has continually said crap to me like, yeah, I'd love to have a relationship with my sisters, but they hate you, and things like that. He is always saying everyone knows my mom is crazy. I don't know why so many people believe her. They don't believe her, they believe him. They believe him when he says his wife beats him, that she's getting an abortion, that she doesn't take care of her daughter, that she is keeping information about his daughter away from him. He did this, he started the fire. I really don't know how to think and feel right now. I knew that at the beginning of our relationship, he would call and tell his mother things that I felt were too private, but I didn't know he was literally the one who falsely told her I was getting an abortion. I thought she had jumped to that conclusion on her own. I didn't know he had told her about the time I slapped him. I didn't know he used to secretly tell his sisters I was a bad mother. I don't know what else he's told them about me. I am at a complete loss. I am not excusing mother-in-law and the sister-in-law behavior. They might have been fed this information, but they made their decisions too. They were all parents. They had all experienced the stresses of newborns and postpartum depression. There is no excuse for their behavior towards me, and the levels they escalated this to. There are certainly a lot of things mother-in-law has dreamed up about me that weren't put there by my husband, like she is convinced that I sleep with a pillow with my ex-husband's face on it, WTF, and that I am mad at sister-in-law A because her husband called me the wrong name. What? And she's pissed at me because I laughed when she wanted me to name my daughter Lauren and I didn't. Maybe this happened. Honestly don't even remember, but I really don't know where to go from here either. My husband was the one who set the events in motion to destroy my reputation with his family. It's no wonder they hate me. I had no chance. To them, I'm a lazy abusive spouse. He is still trying to tell me that he was brainwashed, and he had no idea how they would react. But he has always maintained his mother was awful, and they've never gotten along. I feel like he did this on purpose because he wanted them to react this way. I feel justified in that feeling based on what I know about them. I really think our marriage can't come back from this. Mother-in-law has caught on that I'm a gold digger. This is short, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. For the entire time we've been married, my husband has been in a position where he was getting his foot in the door in order to eventually move to a role he wanted. Pretty common. During that time, I was literally bringing in twice the amount he was, and covering most of rent, bills, food, etc. I had no problem with it. I wanted dear husband to be in a job he'd enjoy and I knew he'd eventually get there, and things would even out. We lived off of my income, and a little help from credit cards. Well, now he's gotten that promotion, yay, and is bringing in almost double of what I am. It's a big deal and I'm very proud of him. Plus, I mean, dual income and no kids money for days. But of course, mother-in-law has to say something. She just has to tell dear husband she's worried about my true intentions in this relationship, especially now that he's bringing home the bacon. Yes, mother-in-law, as a 14-year-old I just looked at him, and knew he'd one day make lots of money. I just had to hunker down, and wait until I was 28, and pay in a lot of money, and one day I knew I'd get my investment back. A 15-year-long con. By the way, mother-in-law is still unemployed. She's been calling dear husband daily asking for help, and begging him to send in a resume, and write cover letters for her. Mom, we updated your resume for you, and then we wrote out a template for your cover letters. If you're unable to put those into an email, you're probably not cut out for a job that deals with computers in any capacity. I know how to use computers. Don't be condescending, just help me. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.